women from other states.
Denver is relocating one of the city's sanctioned homeless tent camps. How moving this safe outdoor space is only part of the plan to provide more permanent housing solutions.
And why you may have more time to see Colorado wildflowers in their peak blooming season.
I have always wanted to get up to Crested Butte for the Wildflower Festival, which is this month.
Yeah,
so.
And leaf peeping too here in a couple months.
Don't get ahead of yourself yet.
I know.
Yeah. Jason, we want to get to you first because you are following some breaking news on I-25. This involves a school bus.
Yeah, so there's been problems all over town here this morning, and unfortunately on the northbound side of I-25, right there at Broadway Logan, there is a school bus involved in a crash. Now, I want to take you to the camera. There's actually 4 different cameras here, and I want to focus in, if we can go to that one. So this is the northbound side of I-25, and there's the school bus. A little bit hard to see, right, just because of the way the shadows are. I have zero information about how many kids, if any kids were on board. Obviously, it's not school season, but it could be a field trip with kids on board, but I don't have any of that information right now. It doesn't look like they're taking this too seriously, so maybe just a minor crash here, but the northbound side obviously is restricted. Southbound I-25 also restricted here at Downing with a crash. This is up by Berthoud. This is up at Highway 36 with a crash right by the mall. So with all these problem spots, you can see what it's doing to traffic, obviously, with huge delays on that north and southbound side of I-25, going about half an hour there. Also looking at some stop and go traffic in some of these other usual spots, including 270, the north side of town, and that 45-minute delay now with that crash. Stacy, up by Berthoud.
Not too bad out there weather-wise. We have mostly sunny skies here across the Front Range and temperatures mostly in the 60s. We're at 67 right now at DIA, 70 in Ray, and 60s toward Colorado Springs and Lyman, with 40s and 50s for the higher elevations. And as you head out the door, we'll have those temperatures in the 60s and 70s through about 10 a.m. and then we're into the 80s. So as we get into the later part of the afternoon, we have chances for scattered thunderstorms here across eastern Colorado. General thunderstorms off to the west. This is where we're going to see them develop first, and then they'll roll down across the Front Range and the eastern plains. So highs today in the upper 80s will be closer to 90 farther to the east and northeast. We'll also have 60s and 70s for the higher elevations off to our west, but our forecast highs here around the metro in the upper 80s, and we'll have those scattered thunderstorms from Littleton to Denver into Aurora.
Well, new this morning, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will resign in the aftermath of ethics scandals.
I know that there will be many people who are relieved, and perhaps quite a few who will also be disappointed. And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
He says he'll stay on until the fall to help his Conservative Party transition to a new leader. Johnson passed a no-confidence vote last month, but ultimately he resigned after more than 40 ministers quit his government.
Every single person has a right to do what they believe is best. However, this issue is about basic human rights. I had to have an abortion early 2020 because I had a miscarriage. And so my body was 3-4 days away from going into sepsis. And without an abortion, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, we have seen protests all over the country after the Supreme Court's decision to cancel Roe versus Wade. And this was at Colorado State Capitol just on Monday.
This morning, there are new protections for Coloradans seeking reproductive care like an abortion. Also, protection for people who come here from out of state. Never 7's Veronica Costa joins us live with what changed from a new executive order.
Well, Nicole, really, this is all about protecting women from other states that might try prosecuting them for coming here to Colorado to get something like an abortion. So this executive order says unless there is a court order, state agencies and departments should not cooperate with any investigation regarding anything protected by Colorado law regarding reproductive health care like abortions. It also directs state agencies and departments to, quote, pursue opportunities and coordinate with each other to protect people and entities who are providing, assisting, seeking, or obtaining this kind of health care in Colorado. And licenses are also very much protected under this new order as well. It directs the regulatory agency to issue specific rules to make sure no one's license is revoked for helping someone get an abortion. This executive order comes just as attorneys, not just here in Colorado, but really all across the country, prepare for criminal charges to be filed against women who get abortions and doctors who provide them as well. Denver 7 spoke with one attorney gearing up for just that. Listen to what he says those criminal charges could be.
Those kind of prosecutions are going to look like first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter. Then you have all the providers who are assisting. You've got aiding and abetting of those crimes, which are also very serious crimes.
And if you remember, Governor Polis did sign the Reproductive Health Equity Act earlier this year. That was to codify abortion into our state statute. And now the sponsors of that bill, they hope to run a constitutional ballot measure in 2024 to preserve our abortions into our state constitution. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. Colorado is one of 16 states, plus the District of Columbia, with laws protecting the right to have an abortion. 4 of those states, including Colorado and D.C., passed laws protecting the right to an abortion throughout a pregnancy. The other 12 states have laws protecting abortions prior to viability or when necessary to protect the life of the mother. On the other side, 7 states have a total ban on abortion now in effect, and several other states have bans that could take effect soon, pending the outcome of their legal challenges in the courts. Demand for emergency contraception has spiked in the aftermath of the Roe v. Wade reversal. Doctors and prescribers say they're seeing a spike in demand for different forms of contraception, including Plan B and longer-lasting forms of birth control. Online pharmaceutical company Nurx says requests are 3 to 4 times higher than usual. It comes as some national pharmacy chains put a limit on purchases of emergency contraception.
Investigators say the man charged with killing 7 people at the July 4th parade near Chicago was plotting another attack the same day. They say the 21-year-old fled to Madison, Wisconsin, and was considered opening fire on another celebration, but decided against it. He is due in court at the end of the month and would face life in prison without parole if he's convicted. Investigators are also considering charges against his father for helping his son buy multiple guns. Meanwhile, the Illinois community of Highland Park is now planning funerals. Irina and Kevin McCarthy were found slumped over their 2-year-old son, Aiden. After the shooting, a Good Samaritan who brought the toddler to safety says his sock was soaked in blood.
When I took Aiden down to the garage, he wasn't crying. He just kept saying, "Is Mama, Dada okay?" And it was hard to look at him in the face and say it's going to be okay when I didn't know if it was.
Well, a relative has started a verified GoFundMe campaign for Aiden. Nearly $3 million have been raised so far from donors all over the world. Police in Virginia believe they stopped a separate planned 4th of July mass shooting. They say a tip led them to arrest 2 men. They seized 2 assault rifles, a handgun, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Police say the tipster heard a conversation about an attack targeting that city's Independence Day celebration.
There's a renewed effort to get people off the streets and into more stable living environments. And in fact, a new safe space is opening in Denver today. It's right along Federal Boulevard, not far from Empower Field. That's where we find Denver 7's Russell Haythorne this morning. And Russell, the fences are still up, but the gate is open.
Yeah, Nicole, that's right. The gate is open for those who need a place to call home sweet home. This is the city of Denver's latest safe outdoor space, which, as you mentioned, is about a mile south of Empower Field at Mile High. The idea here is to reduce the impact of camping in these neighborhoods and also give people a place to go who might otherwise be camped out on the street corners. And eventually, within a year, there's an even bigger, bolder plan for this site.
What's really cool about this particular site is that this site is going to be developed into future affordable housing by the St. Francis Center. So we are in essence really utilizing this land before it would normally be utilized.
We are planning, once this SOS site has been up for a year, we are planning on moving that SOS site elsewhere, and we will be developing senior housing on that same patch of land.
That is Andrew Spinks with the St. Francis Center. He says the idea of that permanent housing gives seniors stability in their golden years. We're live in Denver this morning. Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Thank you, Russell. Colorado wildflower season is reaching its peak for summer, and you may have a little more time to enjoy them than in years past.
Yeah, it's because of all the rain and cooler temperatures we've been seeing. The blooms are starting to hit their peak right now. Flowers in the lower elevations will likely peak sooner because the temperatures are warmer.
Coming up, thousands of flights we know have been canceled or delayed over the summer. We'll explain the compensation you could receive if you're bumped from your flight. Also, school will be here before you know it. The deals have already started for students and teachers to pick up supplies.